Joining us now, Maryland's Governor Larry Hogan. He issued a stay-at-home order for his state yesterday. Governor Hogan, good morning. Great to see you. Last week, we had you on, and you had issued an order to close non-essential businesses, but hadn't yet issued a stay-at-home order. Now, as of this morning, the full order goes into place. Why the change?
Well, we've taken unprecedented action every single day for the past, I think, 25 days. We've issued 26 executive orders, starting with declaring a state of emergency, closing all of our state schools, and then a whole host of things. Yesterday was just kind of one of the last tools in our arsenal because we reached the point where the cases had exploded in the Washington region here in Maryland and the District of Columbia, more than quadrupled just in a couple of days. And I took the action here in Maryland, and my neighbors in the region, the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the governor of Virginia did the same thing, because we reached the point where we believe it's necessary to further get people off the streets so we can continue to save thousands of lives.
Just to give people a sense of how it's grown, on March 5th, which wasn't that long ago, there were 3 confirmed cases in Maryland. Now there are 1,400, at least as of last night. I'm sure it's grown by this morning, 1,415 deaths. Now, this stay-at-home order that you put into place, it carries penalties of up to a year in jail and a $5,000 fine. What gets you smacked with that hammer?
Well, so there are penalties for a number of the violation of these orders, and a lot of it is just to ensure compliance. You have to have some kind of penalty associated with an order. But we've done about, our state and local law enforcement have done about more than 5,000 compliance checks to disperse crowds and to make sure that people are leaving and breaking up situations where they're out endangering themselves and their fellow neighbors. Only twice has it resulted in arrest, and in both cases there was extenuating circumstances where they just refused to comply, and so 2 people have been arrested, and just to show that we're serious about making sure that we keep people safe.
So overnight, you published a letter along with Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer, a Democrat, and you are a Republican. And this was a letter that noted that COVID-19 doesn't distinguish between red and blue states. Yesterday, Governor Whitmer was on with me, and she said that the enemy, the only enemy, is COVID-19. There's no political enemy here. Why did the 2 of you feel the need to write this?
Well, I have a lot of respect for the governor of Michigan, and we're friends and colleagues, and I'm the chairman of the National Governors Association. Quite frankly, I've been working very well with all of our 55 governors, including those in the territories. We are ongoing basis. We're having discussions, and Governor Whitmer and I thought it was important we've been having ongoing discussions with the administration and just laid out some of the priorities that we think are important, that I think there's general agreement among all the governors about what we need, and we just published that op-ed in the Washington Post today.
Testing, equipment, coordination. Those were 3 of the things you outlined yesterday. I want to focus on the first, which is testing, because yesterday there was this conference call between the president and some of the nation's governor, and the issue of testing came up. I want to listen to a little bit of this. The voice you're going to hear is Governor Steve Bullock of Montana and the president. Listen.
Literally, we are one day away, if we don't get test kits from the CDC, that we wouldn't be able to be tested in Montana.
Tony, you can answer it if you want, but I haven't heard about testing in weeks. We've tested more now than any nation in the world. We've got these great tests, and we come out with another one tomorrow where it's, almost instantaneous testing. But I haven't heard about testing being a problem.
I don't want to get into the politics of this, and I know you don't either. Let's take Governor Bullock at his word that they need testing in Montana, as I take you and Governor Whitmer at your word that you need testing in your states. So how would you assess the federal support right now when it comes to testing? How much more do you need?
Well, look, there's no question that the federal government and all of the states believe that we need more testing. And this is something that we're talking about on a daily basis with the administration and with all of our fellow governors. And I'm not here to point blame. Every one of us is in this together. It's not, hey, the federal government needs to get us more testing. We're all working to try to get more testing, but there's no question this is a pinch point on testing, on supplies and materials and PPE and ventilators. Everybody in America knows is we don't have enough of these things. And the federal government, they are taking great steps to try to address this issue, and so are the individual governors in their own states, because it doesn't matter who's supposed to be doing these things. We've all got to get together and get them done, because it's going to save lives.
Explain to us why you need the testing, because the president likes to tout the numbers that are 100,000 people being tested every day. We're up to 1 million tests. That might sound like a lot to some people, but per capita, it's still relatively small compared to other nations. So why is the testing needed in Maryland?
Well, without the tests, we really are flying blind. You know, we're sort of guessing about where the outbreaks are and about what the infection rate and the hospitalization rates are and the mortality rates. So we have a pretty good understanding based on a small amount of data. But so the testing is important, but quite frankly, it's not the only important thing, because even whether we test or not, we've got these people starting to fill our hospitals. And so the personal protective equipment and the ventilators are becoming even more important, or certainly as important as the testing, because we've got to protect our healthcare workers, and we've got to make sure we try to save as many of these sick people as we can.
And one of the things you noted in this letter, along with Governor Whitmer, what you're asking for from the federal government is coordination. You're asking for FEMA coordination in this. Why?
Well, here's the good news. FEMA, as of last week, has started to really step up on coordination, and they're starting to get what materials and supplies they do have, they are dispersing them out to the states. There's simply not enough of all of those things, and that's a problem that everybody's trying to work to address. So the coordination is getting better, but the concern is about everybody going out into the private sector. You know, the president has said the states, you know, are sort of on their own. They should go out and get these things, and we all are trying to get them. But the federal government is also in the private sector trying to purchase those same things, and each individual state, so there's some competition going on to try to get this very limited supply of materials and important things. And that's the issue, is about coordinating that and making sure we're not competing against one another for these limited resources. So,
Governor, yesterday was the deadliest day in this country from coronavirus, more than 550 deaths. Dr. Deborah Birx says even if we do everything perfectly, from here on out, 200,000 people will die. I just want you to reflect on that for a moment and what this moment means in our history.
Well, it's just hard to fathom, but you know, I think Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci are the ones that are telling us the truth about the numbers. And if you just think about it for a moment, 200,000 deaths would be twice as many deaths as we lost in the Vietnam War and the Korean War added together. And we're talking about over a very short period of time. So it's just devastating, and that's why we've taken these seemingly unprecedented and seemingly drastic actions that are disrupting everyone's lives, because we're trying to stop that from happening.
It's for a reason. Governor Larry Hogan, we thank you for your time. We thank you for the work that you're doing. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, John.